As the future of mobility and transportation is gearing up towards electric vehicles, China is poised to dominate this fast-rising industry, being both the largest manufacturer and buyer of electric vehicles in the world. China accounts for more than half of all electric cars made and sold in the last few years. And despite companies from the US having started the electric vehicle revolution, it seems that Beijing is furthering its plans towards technological and economic innovations that will totally outpace everybody else. In today's video, we're taking a look at why China is dominating the US in electric vehicles. Before we get into it, hit that like button to show your support, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for future updates. This is TechBinge. In 2020, China sold roughly 1.3 million electric vehicles, a whopping 1 million more sales than the US did during the same year. That represents 41% of the global electric vehicle sales, making China continuously still far ahead of the US for the global EV share, which the US only held 2.4% of in 2020. The prospects have been very good for China's EV market in the coming years, with an already excellent network of standardized public EV chargers in the Asian country, good government support, and now a much stronger consumer demand. Aside from leading the world as the largest manufacturer and buyer of electric vehicles, China is also still the world's largest car market, owning 30% of the global automotive sales in 2020. And as the rising demand for electric vehicles worldwide has resulted in a competition between both manufacturers and the two great powers, with automakers such as Tesla and China's BYD Co. competing for sales revenue and market share, the US and China are competing for further influence and energy independence. There are only a few manufacturers in the US and China that largely dominate the global EV market. In the US, Tesla and General Motors account for about half of the 358,000 EVs sold in 2018. In China, BYD Co. and BAIC produced about one-third of more than 500,000 EVs sold in China during the same year. While California-based Tesla captured popular attention for electric cars, even launching its own factory in China in 2019, which proved a surge in sales and stock for the industry leader, and have gone forward with its plans to sell EVs from its Shanghai factory to Europe. Sales of electric cars from other brands and other new energy vehicles hit a record in China on September 2020, expanding China's auto manufacturing market share by 30%. The viability of the electric vehicle market has also been a rapid growth in China, being one of the fastest-growing markets in the world, with an estimated 500 electric car makers that have piled into the world's largest vehicle market. Key elements into this surge have been the difference in overall labor cost, as well as lower costs for material in China than the overseas market, allowing a huge cost advantage for companies that operate from here. China also controls 80% of the world's capacity for raw material refining, with the capacity to produce 77% of the worldwide battery cells and up to 60% for other components. This hold on the much-needed power source supply is something China is certainly taking advantage of. Another huge advantage for players in China is the fact that the Chinese government themselves want to dominate this particular market. Chinese state-owned manufacturers collectively are the highest volume producers of EVs and has remained largely unopposed to the global leader. China has even invested at least $60 billion to support its local EV industry, pushing its ambitious plan to transition to all-electric or hybrid cars within the country by 2035. On the other hand, the US is also getting quite serious about going electric, with the United States President Joe Biden announcing their goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050 and providing plenty of investment in green infrastructure. Today, EV consumers are increasingly choosing safer, more technologically advanced EVs, with improvements and innovation in battery and charging technologies that have made EVs more practical for everyday use. Chinese investments in EV infrastructure has provided plenty of leeway for local manufacturers and consumers, as installations of thousands of charging stations per month have been going on for years now all over China. China's EV charging infrastructure currently dwarfs that of the US so much that more than 1 in 3 Chinese cars will be EVs by 2030, as opposed to less than 1 in 7 vehicles in the US by the same year. This thrust from the Chinese government and its investment in EV infrastructure only assures further energy security and vast notable reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, something the rest of the world must quickly catch up to. Aside from state-backed manufacturers, there's also plenty of EV startups that have sprouted in China, aimed to further saturate the growing demand. Companies like NIO, XPeng, and hundreds of Chinese-born startups are vying to be unicorns and are quickly raising billions of dollars to finance their new models and technology. Another target set for Chinese tech giants is the aggressive development of autonomous driving, the ultimate goal for next-generation electric vehicles. This aspect for the future of mobility is something Beijing is already currently leading with aspects of 5G, cloud servicing, and artificial intelligence and machine learning already implemented in various ways. Recently, a number of huge partnerships have pushed further development in the EV industry in China, such as the deal between China's leading car maker, Zhejiang Geely Holding Group, and Chinese search engine giant Baidu to focus on electric vehicles with supplemental technologies that are aimed towards autonomous vehicles. Even Chinese tech giant Alibaba Group Holding acquired an 18% stake in a joint venture between China's largest car maker, SAIC Motors, and Zhangjiang High-Tech Park Development in 2020, with the tie-up aimed to develop EVs that can park themselves under the brand IM, or Intelligence in Motion. All these have provided hints at how the sector is being reshaped to achieve the targets set for new technologies that can produce efficient and reliable self-driving vehicles. These new technologies will not only enhance navigation and provide driverless service, it can also play an important role in making EVs more environmentally friendly and improving driving safety. The expectation for this sector in China is staggeringly huge, with digital services and products slated for China's electric vehicle industry possibly reaching more than $150 billion per year. As part of its Made in China 2025 Industrial Master Plan, Beijing wants 20% of all new cars hitting the streets to be EVs by 2024. That would translate to more than 4 million battery-powered cars in China on the road by then. It's also expected that even more Chinese tech giants will enter the EV sector as time goes by, injecting even more possibilities into the world's largest EV market. With all the development happening within China, U.S. policymakers have seemingly taken notice and recognized that to compete with China, they must first step up its own investment. Despite U.S. manufacturers having made enormous strides in the industry for recent years, the investment in infrastructure in the U.S. still needs to improve, to allot for the improvement of battery and manufacturing technologies and stimulate an increase in demand. And while the competition towards electric vehicles between the two great powers seem more towards achieving better market share, this consumer-driven technology game is actually a gearing shift towards energy independence, as the transition of the automotive industry as a whole towards being powered by electricity can provide more sustainable and economic advancements for the years to come. So what do you think about why China is dominating the US in electric vehicles? Sound off in the comments section below. And as always, like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for future updates. Until next time.